president of the San Francisco Labor Council. So as you all know, I'm sure we represent about over 100 unions and over 100,000 working men and women of this city. And I'm very, very proud to be here today with all of our coalition partners that you see, because today we are announcing an initiative that all of us agree will be on the ballot and will be supporting. We are calling this initiative the San Francisco Jobs Initiative. Jobs stand for jobs, J for jobs, O for opportunity, B for business, and C for services, jobs. S. This is an exciting new initiative that is a progressive business tax. It's a tax. I'm not afraid of saying tax. We can't be afraid to saying tax, because tax means that we will be bringing in income to our city. It is a tax that finally changes over something that many of us for the last 8 years have been doing, to make our tax something that takes from the payroll tax, switches it over to the gross receipts. It actually was the first time I met President Chu 8 years ago, before he was an elected official, and we went to a small meeting to discuss this very issue. Well, 8 years later, we're all in this together, and we have crafted a progressive, a fair business tax that will expand our base. It will replace the money that is taken from the payroll, and it will begin on a progressive basis to continue to bring in more revenue for our much needed services in San Francisco. So I could talk about this for a long time, but I won't, because a lot of other people want to. But I want to meet, my co-chair, Steve Fox. Steve.
Thank you, Connie. I really thought she was going to go on all day. Well, this is good news. I'm Steve Falk, President and CEO of the San Francisco Chamber of Commerce. We represent 1,500 businesses and 250,000 employees of those businesses. And I just want to say welcome and thanks for joining us on this Chamber of Commerce Day. You know, when you see someone from the Labor Council and someone from the Chamber of Commerce together at the same podium, there must be something going on, and that something must be positive. And that's what we're here today to talk about. A business tax change that, instead of punishing jobs, will create jobs. It's not very often you hear a Chamber of Commerce talk positively about business taxes, but this is a very positive change, and it will create jobs for San Francisco and for San Francisco businesses. So here to get started, you will hear from several of us today, but to get us started, let's welcome to the podium our leader, the man who brought us all together to figure out a solution to business taxes in San Francisco, Mayor Ed Lee. Mayor?
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you, Steve, and thank you, Connie. You know, everybody's been asking me, Mayor, what is this business tax reform? How does it really help our city, and who does it help? And of course, we're dealing with a very complicated issue that has been with us for a number of years. Well, suffice it to say, who does it help? Look at the people right here to my left and right and behind me. People from the community, people from our labor family, people from our business community, small business, medium business, large businesses that are represented, from restaurants to hotels, to our chamber members, to the small business network, to our community advocates, who all want to share in our city's effort to recover from this economic doldrum that we've experienced for a number of years. Everybody wants to share in our economy. And so when we signaled that we wanted to make a change to create more jobs, we had instantaneous ability to talk to each other. And I want to thank Board President Chu. I want to thank each member of the board that are here, Supervisor Avalos, Supervisor Alagi, Supervisor Wiener, Supervisor Eric Marr, and anybody else that I missed, for And Supervisor Jane Kim? You here? Okay. Snuck up. Hi, Supervisor. And all the others who have engaged with our office very deliberately and with all the members of our business community, from the chamber to the network to the restaurant association to the people who spent midnight oil on trying to get an agreement and knew it wasn't just my passion to build consensus. It is necessary for the city to build consensus on very complicated issues like this so that the result will be the benefits to all members of our community, so that the businesses can get to the business of creating more jobs and unleashing their innovative spirit to work with our communities and our Board of Supervisors to create these wonderful jobs. This is why we spent the critical hours negotiating. This is why Supervisor Chu and Supervisor Avalos and all the other supervisors spent countless hours with me to build a level of compromise around this. And we knew it was a sensitive discussion, not only with the business community, but with all of our communities as to what we could do. Well, we're going to invest this new tax system and a shared economy and a shared revenue to make sure we invest in our small business and neighborhood businesses, to invest in our infrastructure, to make sure that the money that we do collect and do we gain from it is also returned right to building a strong foundation for our businesses so they can go out there and help our government create more jobs. This is what we're here for. This is why we build consensus in our city, and I'm so appreciative of the board working together with all the other elected officials, but in particular, I want to thank the business community for working hard with us to making sure this is a fair system. And I also want to give a special shout out to Ben Rosenfield and the Controller's Office. They worked really, really hard to make this fair. And then I look to these kids and know that they've got a future where if they want a job or they want to be part of an economy that creates jobs for them, we're going to have that kind of economy. We're going to have a spread out, fair tax base that really puts our future on all of their ability to work with us. So thank you very much for supporting us, for being there with us. Let's go on to November and let's talk about the goodness of our city and how we can create more unity in our city and create more jobs for people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Our next speaker is President David Chu.
The sun is shining on the San Francisco Jobs Initiative. I want to thank all the folks who are standing with all of us today as we help to move forward an initiative that is going to be so important in November that is very, very long in coming. Years ago, when I served as the Chief Operating Officer of a small technology company, my finance team used to complain about the fact that we were one of the 10% of companies in San Francisco that shouldered the burden of our current business tax, a tax that is the only of its kind in the state of California. And it was true, as Connie said, years ago, I met Connie and John Avalos before we were elected to the Board of Supervisors, as we worked with the Progressive Revenue Coalition thinking about how is it that we could move forward a different, a better, a more transparent, a more fair and progressive tax. A tax that would make sure that we incent the creation of jobs, but also make sure that we take care of the services that we need for the future of San Francisco. And I want to thank all of the folks who are here, particularly the members of the business community who worked with my office, who worked with Mayor Lee for the last 6 months in literally hundreds of meetings, representing restaurants, representing small businesses, manufacturing, representing our headquarter businesses, representing real estate and the financial services. We have come together on a measure that is incredibly well-crafted, well-thought out, well-researched. And I want to thank the community who's here, who knows how important it is for us to move forward a tax measure that is estimated to create an additional 1,700 jobs on average a year for decades, and a measure that is going to mean tens of millions of dollars a year additionally for services for our seniors, for our kids, and for everyone else in San Francisco who needs to be able to figure out how to be here and to be served here in San Francisco. We look forward to working together and moving this forward in November and beyond. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, President Chu. So I want to tell you a little secret about how some of this happened. With President Chu guidance, we had a direct line into the mayor's office, and that line kept going back and forth as we were negotiating. But the person who really crafted one of the alternatives, worked hard, brought all the supervisors on board, is Supervisor John Avalos. I want to be a big thank you for Supervisor Avalos.
Thank you. It's really a proud moment for San Francisco to actually be moving away from the payroll tax to a gross receipts tax, a tax that's much more fair for businesses, for people of San Francisco. I want to thank the business community, the Chamber of Commerce, and other business groups for their work and their flexibility in making sure that we could have a tax measure that could have this kind of broad consensus that we have here on the steps of City Hall. We have many different aspects of San Francisco represented here: the business community, labor community, everyday San Franciscans, immigrants, seniors, youth, and that's really who's going to benefit from this tax measure. Yesterday, we went to visit Veritable Vegetable. It's one of the places that we're going to see that's going to benefit from this new business tax reform. They are part of the San Francisco community, business community that hasn't been doing so well lately. Our production, distribution, and repair centers have not been doing so well, but we know that Veritable Vegetable, who's been around since '74, will continue to thrive and will actually do better and be able to hire more residents of San Francisco, local residents for jobs. I want to give the mayor great credit for bringing all of us together under the same banner. I think the people of San Francisco expect us to move forward through these thorny issues of business tax reform, of how to build affordable housing, of the dissolution of redevelopment, and we know that together we've actually moved forward and not seen a big hole in our city and how we respond to crisis. We've actually moved forward together, and together we will move forward to make sure this measure passes on the ballot, as well as the Housing Trust Fund, and we'll see that San Francisco can actually be a really great example for other municipalities around the country to see what we can do when we work together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Supervisor. Now you might ask yourself, why is the Chamber of Commerce supporting business taxes? We insisted from the very start that a business tax be broad-based, fair, and equitable. Today, only 10% of San Francisco businesses pay the payroll tax. Obviously, that is not broad-based, fair, nor equitable. So an important part of this change is to broaden that base and make sure that the new tax does not punish any particular business, and that's the beauty of what we have accomplished here. Now, to talk more about the business community, let me introduce to you the chairman of the Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors, Wade Rose. Wade?
I think as Steve pointed out, this is a rare moment, Mayor Lee and John Avalos, for the business community, along with you, David, to be up here and other supervisors talking about a policy objective which we are pretty much in alignment with. And it's important because taxes are important to all of us, all of you out here, all of us behind me, because the individuals and organizations whose good works produce enough revenue to be taxed, it's very important. And to the individuals and organizations who utilize those tax revenues to provide us the needed services here in San Francisco, it's very important. So that's one of the reasons which Steve emphasized from the business community's perspective, that the tax had to be fair, equitable, and broad-based, and I believe we have achieved that. The other aspect which we really wanted to see happen is that the income, the revenues produced by this new measure will be utilized to build and strengthen the economic foundation of the city, so all of you and San Franciscans have a larger opportunity to be employed and to live here, and I think we're going in the right direction in that with that case as well. So we're going to relish this moment as kind of a political star alignment, and we look forward to November and having this measure pass. So thank you very much.
So this is a broad-based, fairly unusual coalition, but we just did this recently, about a year ago, with our pension reform, where the unions got together, negotiated with the city, and then we all sat down and talked about it, came to an agreement called Prop C, working together. We were probably the only city and county, I would say in the state, if not the country, who reasonably and thoughtfully came together to solve our own crisis. So this is another step in that direction of people coming together to try to solve problems. One of the key committee members of our coalition was Coleman Advocates. They spent tireless number of hours working with us, talking, educating their members, and advancing the dialogue. We have Christina Carnival here to talk to us.
Thanks, Connie. Hi, good afternoon. My name is Christina Cañaveral from Coleman Advocates for Children and Youth, and one of the coordinating members of the Progressive Revenue Coalition. The Jobs Initiative can really only be described as a game changer that has been years in the making. This initiative really reflects the awesome possibilities that can happen when business, community, labor, and city leadership really come together. I'd like to thank the mayor, his staff, the supervisors, business leaders, labor leaders, and community for all the hard work everyone has put in for this moment to become a reality. Not only is SF Jobs a fair tax, it protects small businesses, it allows for more job creation in San Francisco, and it also brings in additional revenue to the city. With this additional revenue, San Francisco can finally begin to restore vital city services that have been gutted year after year. With this additional revenue, we'll see more youth employment and it will continue to grow. San Francisco can continue to develop its residents for jobs in the 21st century with academies in construction, healthcare, technology, and hospitality. We can build more affordable housing so that working families that are struggling daily in this city can afford to live in a place that they call home. We can invest in our schools and after-school activities and tutoring that prepare the next generation of San Francisco leaders and entrepreneurs. We can continue to plant the seeds of small businesses, the heart and soul of this city, by investing in the assets of our communities along commercial corridors. And finally, my personal favorite, perhaps museum and park fees can become more affordable again so that families can explore and enjoy all that this world-class city has to offer. All this and more can happen with this initiative because it's an initiative that takes into account the needs of the whole city and not just a particular sector. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. Now, as most of you know, most San Franciscans do not work for large corporations. Most San Franciscans work for small businesses. So it was very important to be sure that any change to the tax was fair for small business. That is what will drive job development here in the city for the years to come. Our next speaker is a great representative of small business. He has his own small business in the city. Please welcome the head of Small Business California, Scott Halge. Scott?
Thank you, Steve. I'm pleased to be here to support this proposal. My company has been in San Francisco since 1927, and I've owned the company since 1977. And I honestly never thought I would see the payroll tax repealed to a gross receipts tax. I applaud the mayor, David Chu, and the other supervisors, Supervisor Avalos, for moving this forward. For many years, the business community as a whole and the small business community has said that the payroll tax is a disincentive to hiring. We've encouraged a gross receipts tax. And for those that are paying the payroll tax now, the majority of small businesses will see their costs go down, which will help us to hire people, to purchase equipment, to expand our businesses, which ultimately will mean more revenues to the city. I also want to make a special thank you again to the mayor, to David Chu, for bringing the small business community into the discussion and being part of the final process or the final decisions that came out of this legislation. That hasn't happened very frequently, and we're so appreciative of it. So we look forward to supporting this, and we look forward to getting this passed in November, and look forward to the job creation that's going to occur. Thank you.
So we are absolutely appreciative of all of our business leaders, but on the coalition side between labor and community, We not only had Coleman, SEIU 10 to 1 played a major role in our grouping together, coming together to pass this. And another community group that we all know and love, Chinese Progressive Association, CPA, is here with Alex Tom.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alex. I'm with the Chinese Progressive Association and also San Francisco Rising, with many of you are here today. We're a grassroots alliance of 9 different organizations in different neighborhoods in San Francisco. And I wanted to just start off by saying in 2010, this alliance came together with labor to pass Proposition N, which was to raise the real estate transfer tax by 0.5%. And it was actually a very powerful coalition. And today what we have is going to prove to be an even more powerful coalition that we've developed to pass the San Francisco Jobs Initiative. And this is very unprecedented, I would say. We've managed to build consensus to form one measure to support small businesses, resources for housing, jobs, and services. These are the key issues to keep working families in San Francisco. Oftentimes in San Francisco, we all know this, is that there are false dichotomies that do get created where we say who's progressive, who's not, who's moderate, who's not. And I think this is a key example of how we just cut through all of the politics, of course, with much level of struggle. But in the end, we were able to have a consensus measure that we can all come to common ground on. And I think that is very important for us right now. I want it also important to emphasize something that's important that hasn't been raised as much, and it is actually the Housing Trust Fund. And this is a little bit complicated when people look at it, but it is very important, and I wanted to thank the mayor for really bringing different stakeholders together early on in the year to really start to talk about this issue and to really be able to merge this with the other efforts that are happening, because this is truly what San Francisco is about. And affordable housing and jobs, services, they're all benefiting the same people, and they're all benefiting San Franciscans that want to stay in San Francisco. The last thing I want to say, too, is just that this shows that the economic crisis is actually hitting us all pretty hard. So we actually can't afford not to work together, and we can't afford to basically lump all businesses together, and we can't afford not to nudge and push the businesses that have actually fared off better in the economy to actually share, pay their fair share, and actually work together. So this is actually very important. This is not about being progressive or moderate. It's about doing what's right and what's just for San Francisco. I wanted to lastly just thank the mayor again, John Avalos, and David Chu for really bringing us together for here today. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Alex. Now, the last very important business segment, everyone's favorite, our restaurants. San Francisco has 3,500 restaurants. They employ almost 40,000 residents of this city. We had to make sure we got this right for restaurants. So representing the Golden Gate Restaurant Association, please welcome its Executive Director, Rob Black.
Thank you, Steve. It is really an honor to be here on this day where we are all working together. But I also think it's a day where Mayor Lee will probably get a new nickname. It may become Dr. Lee, because what he did today was give birth to a new tax system, a new initiative, and it's been a painful process. It's been a painful labor, but we have come through it together as a business community and as a broader community. And I want to thank those business leaders who stood up and fought hard for this, who were willing to compromise. Same thing on the labor side and the community side, because not everybody got everything they wanted. But what we got was a principled compromise that I think we all can agree on and all can support, because it's what's best for San Francisco. So, Dr. Lee, thank you very much.
All right, our last speaker is another vibrant community activist from Somcan. Her name is Angelica.
Hi everyone, how are you doing today? Are you excited for this initiative to go through the November ballot? Yes. communities are stabilized, right? From businesses to youth to seniors to everyone. So again, my name is Angelica Cabande, and I'm with the South of Market Community Action Network, SOMCAN for short. We're a community-based organization here in the heart of South of Market. We are also a proud member of the Council of Community Housing Organizations, CHOO for short. And I just want to applaud CHOO for being the leading alliance on ensuring we have long-term sustainable funding for affordable housing, because we need affordable housing, right? Yes. And we need services, right? And we need to make sure our small businesses stay in our communities, right? So we would like to thank everyone, especially the community and labor groups whom ensured our voice and needs are in the forefront of why we need a jobs initiatives in the first place. As the economy grows, we want to make sure we don't leave anyone behind. For example, in Soma, we have many small businesses, seniors, and working families who are in need of jobs, and youth who are the future workers and business leaders of our communities. This measure will make sure as a city we can support our school, we can support fund training programs, create local pipeline opportunities, and funds for the Housing Trust Fund. So we thank everyone again for uniting on a common goal and vision to ensure San Francisco stays diverse, stays multiracial, and regardless of our status, we stay in San Francisco. So thank you everyone again for ensuring to work together for a better San Francisco. Thank you.
Okay, so what do we have to do now? We have to concentrate about the November election. This is going to be on the November election. I know you're all registered to vote. That's easy. Make sure your coworkers, your neighbors, your friends, and everybody in your organizations know that SF Jobs will be on the ballot in November and needs to pass. As we're closing, I'd like to bring up the mayor as well as the supervisors, Supervisor Alagi, Supervisor Eric Marr, Supervisor Jane Kim, all terrific supporters of this initiative. We couldn't have done it without all of you, and Supervisor Avalos, of course. And I think President Chu had to go, but thank you for coming. Now let's get out there and vote.